Welcome to episode 27, live or semi-live from Sea Otter Classic 2026 on April 17th, 2026. My name is Ed Philbrick. I'm joined with Kurt Stockton and Darren Stockton. We are the Service Course Report. We pushed out a lot of content. You can find us on Instagram, YouTube. We'll have some full-length clips that Darren took with his GoPro out on the course yesterday that we'll get up maybe even this evening. So please consume our content.
Yeah, and let your friends know. Actually, there's some good stuff. Diaz got some amazing stuff out there with some very creative camera placement right on the track, like in the track. Actually, no, on the track, in the track. So
Yeah,
look forward to that.
Yeah, KS interviewed Gary Fisher, Alan Lim.
Yeah, Joan Hanscom, PMC. We got some racers too, right? Got
Pete Stetna.
yeah, their Spieler trainer, Pete Stetna. Yeah,
Two-time Tour de France stage winner Michael Woods.
Yes.
yeah. And Lesby, Andrew Lesperance, who was 10th yesterday as well. So we got some stuff. Yeah, and then I had to run before the women finished, unfortunately. But that doesn't mean we won't get some more stuff over the weekend here.
Yeah, so currently all that's on Instagram. Well, we will get that to YouTube as well. And just take a look, give us your comments, give us your feedback. So how was the morning? How was your sleep overnight? Like, we're camping. Like, you got to have a badge that says you're camping at Sea Otter.
Yeah, we're van camping.
Yeah, we're van camping.
Pretty luxurious compared to when we were little kids backpacking, right? At Santa Barbara Middle School with
Yeah.
backpacks as big as us.
Van camping is good living. We
Yes.
got a fire pit, so we had a nice fire last night.
Yeah.
Kurt brought some oak down from our dad's property. He's got tons of oak up there, so those get the good burn going, and it was good. I slept great last night. I crashed out. I woke up kind of early this morning, got up and started organizing. I was hoping I would sleep in a little bit longer, but yeah, it was good. It's really good. I'm enjoying it.
With Laguna Seca, you never know what you're going to get. DS is a real veteran of camping here, but you can get fog drip and you can get a warm weather like we had today. I talked to people finishing the gravel race, and it was warmer than they were used to. And it's pretty dry and exposed. I'm not seeing too much fog in the zone here.
And it's been breezy but not windy as well. Although I'm guessing it was a lot windier out on course like it was for the Lifetime Grand Prix yesterday. I mean, we talked about it yesterday, how the conditions changed quite a bit just with the wind, which you also, with that wind and the temperature going higher, the dirt's drying up a bit. So we're getting a little bit more dust. The traction is not as good as it was for us when we got here on Wednesday, and then for the Grand Prix races yesterday. So the age groupers race today, which we saw a bunch of them out there, and definitely they were kicking up some dust.
It's loose, yeah, and then the more people that ride the track, it just gets this type of sandy soil gets broken up. So corners that used to have some hold, you'll come in, and it's just a nice sea of soft sand to carve your way through. But I don't know, that's dirt, right? It keeps it spicy.
So late last night, I was looking at the photos of Sophia coming into the last line, and Kurt had some stories there about, she obviously, I don't know, how would you describe it? She took the wide line, but the photos show her up on the asphalt or on the white apron.
All the way, yeah. I mean, she
outside, yeah.
Yeah, if you have the time to go back, because I was in the feed zone just across, or so you could see the finish. When the women came through going into their last lap, and there was a big group. And I had been looking at this line way inside because there was a groove, and she took that line, and it was pretty soft in there, and she's kind of slotted back in, but they weren't racing for the finish at that point. And I was like, oh, that was interesting because I had not seen anyone take that line. And then you fast forward one more lap when her and Lauren Stevens were going for the win. And she chose not to take that line. And I was like, well, that was interesting. But Lauren Stevens did take the line, and it completely screwed up her final entry and then exit through that last turn. And that's where the gap was established. And I was like, oh, well, it just happened. And then she talked about it in her interview that she purposefully tried that line with 2 to go, and then had her people talking to her about what to do on the last lap because it wasn't as fast. And I was fascinated that Lauren Stevens mentioned the same thing in her interview, that she said, oh, I saw Sophia take that line the last lap, so I went for it, or the previous lap, and I went for it on the last lap, and it wasn't good. And it dawned on me, like, well, if the person you're racing against tried it the lap before and then they're not going for it, wouldn't that tell you that it wasn't a good line? But that thinking wasn't there. And then Sophia also said something in her interview that she had someone on their staff, their team, the staff was talking to her, I think on the last climb in Spanish, giving her some intel. So she had the advantage of being at least bilingual, if not multilingual, to do that. But it was definitely, it was a very much more tactical, I think, finish, because they raced it all the way through, or with the men, it seemed like they didn't race it until the last corner. So if you have the time to go back and watch that amazing footage that Lifetime put together that's on YouTube, you can really kind of pick that apart, and then watch the interviews and have the riders talk about it and see what's going on. But it's wild that a 90-mile race comes down to those split-second decisions within the last minute, 45 seconds, whatever it was. But I mean, that's oftentimes the difference between winning and not winning.
Yeah, I was fortunate to be sitting right next to Sophia or on the ground with my camera right when she was recomposing after finishing. And by the way, that was quite a moment for me. I've been around, elite cycling performance, on and off all my life, but I have never seen riders with 1,000-mile stare. I know I talked about it yesterday, but in looking back at my pictures, you can see the recomposing that they're having to do and how hard they worked. And Sophia was recomposing, and she muttered out loud to her mechanic, "You know what the name of today's ride is?" Like her Strava ride name, or the name of the race in her mind was, I was dive bombing every turn, but she didn't dive bomb the last turn. I mean, she took it up onto the berm of the edge of the racetrack. Yeah. But it was just cool to hear her, thinking out loud and decompressing. There's a lot to unpack with the race, and I spent some time looking at the results, some time looking at the photos, but I think we need to watch some more video and just so that we can talk more intelligently about it. Like, we just need to consume a little bit more, and it's hard at Sea Otter. I think you guys would agree. There's just so much stimulation going on. It's like, I don't know, it's like, how can you really be an expert on 32 tires when there's 15 people talking to you at once, and 5 brands have a movie that night, and 6 people are trying to give you a coffee? It's hard to soak it all in. I just heard a photographer in the media center say, I don't even know which bike to share or post because I got 40 of them that I like. So I'm looking forward to rounding all this out, but took some notes on the results.
Before you jump in, I have one question.
Yeah.
Did you drink 6 coffees?
No.
You were just offered 6. Okay.
2.
At least 2. Okay.
We'll get to that in the espresso.
Well, we're right there.
Yeah.
Kurt prepared for espresso this morning, so that's how we started.
He's got a hand press that I don't even know everything that goes into what he's doing, but at the very end, it's
the pressure is created manually. All we need is hot water. The only power or fuel that's needed is for hot water. And I think I at least made 2 shots each, right? Six rounds this morning. So that was nice. And thank you, Ed, for when you went through Santa Barbara on the way up, you stopped at Aaron and Kim's place in Santa Barbara, handlebar, and picked up their seasonal Gibraltar blend. So that made for a nice start to the morning. But a little sidebar there. But you dug into the results, unless you want to talk more coffee.
I want to get to the results, but I want to stop at the handlebar. So, I once ran a bike shop, had been worked in retail on and off different times in my life. That was an amazing experience in Santa Barbara. Surreal to go into what was such a nice operation, very tasteful, not too overcycling. Like, I've seen a few of these cycling coffee shops, one in Lisbon, Portugal. There's some in the Bay Area where they just pour cycling a little too thick, and you're just like, ugh. But I thought it was very tasteful, and I thought our coffee kind of matched the experience. So I was pretty impressed.
Yeah.
And that's pretty wild when you think about it, because Aaron, he raced the Giro. He raced in Europe. He raced for T-Mobile. He raced for that Sonia Duvall. What was the yellow jersey, right? Yeah, and Kim won the Tour de l'Aude, which was considered the women's Tour de France for a number of years. So you have two individuals running that coffee shop who were racing at the highest level. And to your point, Ed, it's cool that they do it. They have that little bit of cycling part to it, but it's very tastefully done. I don't know if he still has. He had his. I think there was a time trial in the Giro that year, and he had his placard from the car, from when the car follows you. It has your name on it.
Yeah.
So yeah, pretty cool. So shout out to those two. And
I had no idea. I didn't know they were riders. Or racers. I had no idea. So,
Oh yeah. See, there you go.
haven't lived in Santa Barbara since 1993, fall of 93.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, there's some time. You things have changed.
see, you can learn something on the service course report, right?
right on the spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we looked over the results, and the men averaged yesterday in the Lifetime Grand Prix, Sea Otter Classic gravel race. The men averaged 21 miles an hour. For comparison, the women averaged 17 miles an hour. The men had 119 finishers, and the women had 59 finishers, both going equal distance, both racing for the same prize money at the end of the year.
Yeah. And both of them, we did the percentage on the start list versus the finishers, and both fields finished just above 80%.
Yeah.
So that's actually not that high of an attrition rate when you think about it. That
Yeah.
it was only 20% attrition rate in both of the events, which is very cool to see. So all things being equal, not being equal. That's a big teller right there that you had an almost identical attrition rate.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think if we'd been unpacking the socials a little more, we could read everyone's story of their race, because pros are good at explaining their story and not naming their tire company that blew off the rim, keeping it PC, so we could understand some stories. But the U23 qualifiers in the Lifetime Grand Prix last year, so they are in the Lifetime Grand Prix this year, and they did it through U23. Griffin Hopper and Ruth Holcomb both DNF'd yesterday. So, some younger riders struggled, some older riders struggled. Taylor Phinney, there was a lot of buzz before the race started. He finished 67th. So our friends at the Bonk Bros, Drew Dillman finished 16th. Pete was 17th. Last year's defending champion Cam Jones was 20th.
Defending champion in the Grand Prix.
Correct.
Top of the race.
Right.
Correct. Yeah. So who won the race last year?
Keegan. Remember the projectile vomiting soon after he finished?
Correct.
How can you unsee that?
How did I forget? Young up-and-coming rider from Southern California with the best social media and the best wheelie out there. He's, challenging Lance Hedette for wheelie culture. He was 32nd. He's going to Traca, won't be back to defend his 4th or 5th place. Amazing performance at BWR California last year. But he's going to be in the U23 Lifetime Grand Prix. Dylan Johnson was 42nd. Brandon Wirtz was 64th. Chase Work was Mr. Era was 68th. So that's your 119th finishers, and some interesting stories there.
Yeah. That'd be the perfect name if you were a domestique on a road team. Chase Work. Like, dude, some Chase Work.
Yeah, so like Chase Work.
Yeah.
WARK. But Tiffany Cromwell was 21st in the women's race. I mean, there's a woman with some World Tour experience.
Yeah. From the very start of the Women's World Tour. Yeah.
I enjoyed looking at Botas's bike yesterday. Canyon and Shramp spend a lot of time and money making sure he's dialed. And he was out there in the gravel race today. So it'll be fun to see how his story went. But he's driving F1 for Cadillac this year.
Nice.
Yeah, that's a bit like serendipitous, right? You got an F1 racer who races on auto circuits, racing a bicycle at an auto circuit, right?
Yeah.
And I saw him, in the feed zone feeding as well. So like getting into it, right? Living the life.
Yeah, he's really good for cycling, so he should feel welcomed. And the brands seem to take good care of him. So,
And where did you see? Was it 6? Kate Courtney, our marathon world champion. I think Kate might have finished just outside of the top 5. She was in the mix there until the
Final climb.
that final climb up. Heartbreak Hill or something Ridge or Lookout Ridge. Heartbreak.
Wasn't that a Clint Eastwood? Heartbreak Ridge was, I think, the Clint Eastwood movie about the Falklands.
Yeah,
but I digress.
And then The Fix has a song, Heartbreak something as well. But anyway, now I'm really digressing. So
I love The Fix. So yeah, that's a good one.
That's with 2 X's.
Yeah. So I don't know if you noticed a theme. We're kind of leaning into our heritage and our age group demographics. So look for some Devo content and some old school 80s and 90s rock, or I guess we'll call it new wave.
That's Devo as in, are we not men? We are Devo, not a development team. Yeah.
So we covered the weather. We went over a little bit from the Lifetime Grand Prix. They go off and ride. Next up is Unbound for them. So the top wild cards in those first 2 races are vying for 3 spots, men and women. So you can follow along. Lifetime is next door to us here, filming a lot of content, building a story, and they're great storytellers, and they're really leaning into this. So I feel like we're lucky to be part of their journey and their investment. What did we do today?
Wait, hold on. Before we get on today, I was thinking one more thing that we could bring up last night to bookend the day is KS's potato onion medley on the cast irons. For dinner,
Yes.
Ed had his grill, had barbecued chicken thighs on that, and then I had pre-baked some russets, 6 russets. So Kurt started chopping those up and sauteing and mixing it up, and that was good. We had a little bit of that left over for lunch today.
Well, let's break it down a little more into the detail. The chicken said it was from Oxnard, so I didn't know there was chicken in Oxnard, but
Yeah. Oh, like locally raised chicken, Oxnard chicken.
It was some tasty chicken. Oftentimes when one grills chicken, it can get quite dry, but Ed
That was perfect.
little travel Weber and that thing, like, for, you said you kind of
it's been dormant
neglected it for a while.
2 years.
2 years dormant, and
Yeah.
man, the burner, once it burned off, it burned clean, but it wasn't too hot. Yeah, it didn't burn. Oh yeah, we had potatoes and salad.
This big toss out. We needed some roughage too.
Yeah.
It's pretty good living up there on the hill. We had a big old fire that we put in and built a fire last night.
Yeah,
I got to sit around that.
if you've never been to Sea Otter, some of these campsites are basically asphalt living or fully exposed over here on the hill behind us. We have trees and an amazing view. And I don't want to tell you how Darren pulls it off, but he plays the dual laptop game in the Go.
Yeah. Looking at Sea Otter camping, the prime spots, I think everything sells out in about 10 minutes of all the prime spots. So you got like...
So don't come hunting for our spot because it's a good one.
Yeah.
Our neighbors are quiet.
Yeah.
So far, we have 2 more nights.
Yeah.
Been very fortunate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So what the day, right? I mean, we have
The big feature
started
of
with
the
some
day.
coffees, and then our day was
The big feature of the day were the e-bike demo that we got. Specialized rolled out a bunch of some different variations and new variations on their Levo. We got the Levo R, which stands for Rally, which is a full power and full size battery, but in a little bit of a lighter bike. So meant to be a little bit more whippy, nimble, and it was really great. Ed got an email through our, signing up for media, and we were able to go right in and book ourselves a 2-hour slot today, and it was great. I thought we would just show up and they would just give us the bikes, but they had, what was it? There were us 3, 2 other people, so there were 5 of us on the tour, and they had, 5 or 4 specialized people?
they had four
riding.
guides, riding with us. So they knew that we didn't have to figure the route out.
Yeah, it was great.
And it was, we got like a little initial download right when you get your bike, like this, this is what you do this, and pretty soon I felt like Santa's little helper on The Simpsons, where the guy was talking to me, and you shift this and do that and switch this mode, and it's just like blah 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 blah, right? Because it's a lot of information, but it's just like anything. You do it a few times, so you get that initial download, and then we navigated out of the expo to where it was quieter.
But we didn't get any preferential media treatment. This was available to the general public.
Yeah, that's true.
And our bikes were spec'd and ready for us, so they were matched to our pedals.
And our suspension was tuned for our weight. We emailed everything before, and they actually had our names in like painter's tape on the top tube. Had the name, had the settings and stuff, rider weight. So they really did a great job on that. Yeah.
Yeah. So we rolled out to a quieter spot.
Rolled out to a quieter spot, and then we, they talked a little bit more about the bikes and the settings. It's full power, the turbo, the middle mode, trail mode, or eco mode. And what I realized at the start, which nobody else did until we were much further in the ride, is that the guy who helped me get set up at the very beginning just set my bike to a class 3 right from the get-go. So I had that, the governor doesn't kick in until 28 miles an hour, which was nice. For me, it's probably been about 8 years since I think I've even really ridden a mountain bike, let alone an e-bike. And the thing that I marveled when I first did that, so there's this thing I noticed that I call the e-bike grin. And it doesn't matter like how old you are or what, you get on that thing and it's just like, you can't help but smiling because it's just so much fun. I saw that today. Yeah.
Well, even uphill, you get an e-bike grin,
Yeah.
Like the uphill thing is underestimated. Well, especially on those nice single track.
Oh, yeah.
Flowy underneath the bearded oaks.
Yeah,
It's over here.
Not the gray bearded oaks.
Not
just
this
the
oak.
gray bearded oaks.
Not this oak tree, but anyway, the ones out there. Like uphill's fun.
Yeah, it really is. It adds a whole different element you don't realize. Normally, you're uphill, you're just trying to make it up it. If it's a hard climb, but on this, you can, especially if it's kind of like a flowy uphill single track, you have enough power that you're hitting berms on the way up, kind of hopping up over little risers and things like that. That might be a jump on the way down. It's a blast. Those bikes were set up well. They really handled well. I was pretty impressed with it.
Yeah.
So they did a cool thing where they took us to different sections of the ride and then they would give us a lesson so they didn't overwhelm us.
Yeah.
So like if we were about to do a downhill or a technical uphill, we would manipulate the bike as a group in preparation for the section we were about to complete. And that was really well done. For me, Specialized was like turbo tires when I was a kid and kind of like maybe the import Campagnolo, and maybe I once was sponsored by them on the Santa Barbara Bike Club and I had like an aluminum, or I don't even know, chromolyes. I never was really a big Specialized fan, but they're doing the Apple of bicycles scenario today. I mean, like we had a complete experience with complete technology. The technology is not too overwhelming. Like I could actually move the screen around and do what they were telling me on the first try. And I'm a boomer, not quite, but I'm Gen X. But I'm a boomer. So
You're Gen X because I'm Gen X and I'm older than you.
Okay. All right, but
Booming us out.
okay.
We're Gen X.
But I could do it. I could follow along. And I was worried like that the polarized sunglasses would take away your ability to see that screen. I know you're not really looking at it, but I could see it fine through my polarized glasses. And I could do what they were asking me to do with the buttons. It sure helped that I knew those SRAM buttons. Like I would have been lost because that's what I ride every day. I would have been lost without I would have been overwhelmed
On that.
Yeah.
And I had my bike had the axis shifting, but it had a cable actuated dropper, a little bit different. But it was interesting. I noticed I kept misshifting because the shifter was on the right-hand side for both going into a larger gear into a smaller gear. And I ride on a drop bar setup. So the left lever takes you to a lighter, smaller gear. The right lever takes you down. And I kept
the drop in your seat then.
Well, no, I knew that both the shifters were on the right, so I wasn't looking for either one, and so I kept hitting and going into a bigger gear when I needed a smaller gear.
Opposite.
Yeah. Anyway, I could see like by toward the end of the ride, I had it down. I mean, it's just a lot of different controls if you haven't been riding a mountain bike, but ultimately, it was just so much fun.
In an hour and a half of riding too. You already got that much dialed in.
Yeah.
You knew enough to know that your rebound was too fast on your shock.
Yeah, I got
earned you a little bit of street cred with the one guy. I think we're like, dude, you slow the rebound down this. He's like, oh. Well.
Yeah, I got kicked a couple times on that first descent, and I was like, yeah, it was fun. And I have to shout out to all of the guys, Zeke, Jordan, I remember all their names, but they were super knowledgeable. Like, they ride these bikes, but still, like, there are going to be people that ride bikes and they can't explain something well. So they were accomplished riders, skilled riders. They knew the tech and they were able to explain the tech as well. So they did a really great job. So shout out to the.
Yeah, I was super impressed with that part of what you're describing.
Yeah.
My dropper, I have the old version of that, electronic dropper, and this is supposed to be the new one. I think it's called the Reverb.
Yeah, that's what DS was saying.
Thing, I don't know, man. It still sticks. That was supposed to be the fancy one today with the battery on the front side. I was like, it's just as bad as the one I had.
How did it stick on you?
It just doesn't go when you hit the button.
Oh, like
yeah, you gotta like, and I was bouncing on the seat a lot,
to get it to drop.
Yeah, like all day long. In fact, mine is better than that, and that's supposed to be the new one. So I don't know. That was my only gripe about the bike. Like, oh, and then downhill on the road, I felt like it was on the edge of speed wobbles, and they were like, "Oh, we'll put a little more weight forward." I'm like, I don't know about that, but anyway.
You're going fast downhill. You're getting speed wobbles, so put some more weight. Yeah.
Yeah.
It shouldn't wobble.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that ride was a lot of fun, and there's such great riding, and just the type of single track that when you're going down it, which is a really fun type of single track, it's steep enough that you don't have to pedal. It's got enough slope, but then it's not so steep that you're hard on the brakes. So you can really just like hit your lines and pump and generate speed, and it's more of just a continual experience, almost a little bit like surfing or something, just feeling that flow of it rather than feeling like you're dropping down steep stuff and jamming on the brakes. So that's a lot of fun. And I was lucky I was following one of the guys down, so he knew the trail, and I was like, a couple of things where I saw him go to just kind of not big but jump off something. I'm like, well, if he's doing it, I should be able to do it.
Yeah.
It's not going to take me down a hole. So that was pretty fun, but it was exciting. It's always fun riding a new trail, on dirt and just feeling the dirt and just sliding, and that was a blast. Yeah.
So I was thinking, like, it's been about 8 years since I rode a mountain bike or e-bike, and then I was like, Ed, when's the last time you rode an e-bike?
Never.
Yeah. So this was it. That was your maiden e-bike voyage.
Yeah. This was actually a cycling lifetime highlight. It's not that I'm going to go out and spend $15,000 on one. Someday I'll ride one, but it was just a really fun experience, and it's fun to ride the technology and think about the technology and think how well it's done.
Yeah.
Because Specialized is making that they're doing all that programming and interface, and it's not like they're telling somebody in Taiwan exactly what to make. They're working on it here. So the overall experience of riding it was just like a real lifetime highlight. Like, I was like whooping and hollering on the way uphill. Like,
I did hear a couple whoops. So I was like, "Was that Ed whooping?" I'm like, "Yeah." And I thought it was interesting. Like, the TAC, we got to talk to our guides a little bit. And there's more technology in there. They've thought about, with the, how hard you pedal versus how much power the motor gives you than one person needs. But you can tune it for your needs. And as you ride the bike, some people will want complete autopilot. And that's great if that's what you want. And that's what's going to give you the best ride, down to tuning it, the motor. We're not talking about, suspension or anything, to what you need for your riding style or your terrain. And so it seemed to me, and they kind of confirmed it, that they created a broad spectrum, but that's to cover, like we say, 90% of the people 90% of the time. And if you can do that, it's going to work very well. So, one of the guys told me, he goes, I ride with my fiance, and she likes me to put it on this setting, on the auto, this and that, and I do this setting, and we go out and ride together and have a great time. So the ability to personalize that setup seems like there's a lot of thought that went into it, and then the execution seems like it came across pretty well, because from concept to execution, it doesn't always work, and it from looking from the outside on an hour and a half ride, seems like they did that pretty well.
Yeah, I just had this thought that rounds this out a little, or adds to it, is that I don't think a bike shop would take the time and teach you how to run that bike. Like if you were me and you'd never ridden that bike, they'd say, oh, like they'd help you adjust the suspension,
Right.
But like the learning experience, and like I don't think a bike shop can help the consumer as much as the experience that we had today. I mean, I would hope there are bike shops out there that would lean into this, and like I know in San Diego you can have a demo experience like what we did today, produced by a local bike shop, Carlsbad Specialized dealership, or but interesting how much better the experience is when somebody's slowly teaching it to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and the way they did it too, again, they made a point of telling us, but it was smart that they didn't overload us with information right away. They gave just a little bit and a little bit and a little bit. So it sunk in a little bit more. I like the controls, because a lot of the like first and second generation controls, how you, not necessarily just Specialized, but other motor systems, Bosch stuff. I felt like a lot of them were very counterintuitive and just hard to reach, but their button system was really great. It was very simple, it was self-returning. You could just click through your settings. You're not like actually trying to hit a button or hit a bunch of different pads. So that was really nice too. And I like that for an e-bike with all that going on, and you look down at the handlebars, they still look pretty clean.
Yeah.
Because that's another thing. I'm not down for the dashboard handlebar, where you just got like electronics plastered all over there. I like to kind of have that more classic look.
No 70-inch big screen on your handlebars, right? But I would say too, the menu was pretty intuitive, and how you to your point, yes, how you navigated it, and they had the little different rubber, the physical buttons, on just below the display to toggle you through the display. They matched the little icons on the LCD screen. Just that attention to detail, right? Maybe it's that Johnny Ive design aesthetic.
Yeah.
I don't know. But it was great, and I would add that there are bike shops out there with our techs that are smart enough. So we just maybe haven't been to one yet. And now, I live a few doors down from a Specialized dealer, and a guy just bought the shop who owns a shop up in Tahoe as well, and he's gone all in on e-bikes. Like every 6 weeks, I see pallets of e-bikes getting delivered to this tiny little shop in Nevada City, the tour in Nevada City. So now I want to go in and talk to those guys.
Yeah.
Like I can walk up the street and
Get a demo.
Yeah. Or make them an espresso.
There you go.
Or both.
Yeah.
So I noticed there's a little lurchy. That was catching me off guard. Whenever I ride a brand new bike, I'm always trying to be careful, because you don't know it yet. So
Right.
there were some moments where I was like, whoa.
Power-wise.
Yeah. They gave a nice explanation about this Class 3 and how they can sell it. I'm not sure I'm going to tell it perfectly, but I think in the United States, an auto company can sell you a car and you can drive at 140, and that you shouldn't do that. So you can turn this bike, and Darren or Kurt will help me with this, you can turn it into a Class 3 bike to help get to the trail. And that was kind of a new feature for them. I guess they haven't done that before.
Right.
And they're kind of circumnavigating some of the laws and rules here a little bit.
Well, no, I think it's more of it's the attorneys. We live in the United States, the land of liability, right?
Mm.
The land of, sue yourself to early retirement type of thing, which is unfortunate, but that's the way it is. So,
yourself in or out of.
right. So Class 1, Class 2, Class 3 e-bikes is speed and
Assist.
assist. and the class 3 is the max, and the governor cuts off at 28 miles an hour. The bicycle, every time you start it up, even if you were in class 3 the previous ride, it starts you as a class, either a class 1 or a class 2. So you have to turn that on
to class 3
every time. So you're acknowledging that you're doing it. So the bike itself will never boot up. The motor system will never boot up. Class 3, you have to do that. And I could see someone who's not super experienced, especially going uphill and going into, you think crashes happen on downhills on mountain bikes, right? And someone gets out of control because they're going too fast. Well, you get into some tight single track, like DS was talking about, how like you get twice the ride because you're flowing on the uphill as well as the downhill. But you have to put it into that mode if that's what you need for where you're riding. So again, thought out well, but it was a blast. I mean, we got done. I could have done that whole ride again.
Oh yeah.
It was a great time.
So Laguna Seca, there's a paved road that connects you back into the venue, and they had us on it to finish it off, and they had us put it in class 3 to get back.
Yeah.
And I gave it a little gas to see what it would be like to hit the 28. And it almost like slows you down right at 28.
Well, it does. The motor cuts off.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, like, even on, like, mine's a class 1, my Mondraker. And sometimes you're ripping down a trail and you want to, grab a sprint, but the motor cuts off at 20. So, yeah, the class 1 or class 3 now, for people who don't know, a class 2 is one that you don't have to. It's not necessarily, it has pedal assist, but they also have a throttle, which means you don't have to pedal it, which is a whole nother thing we've been talking about. We don't believe is technically like a bike, but that's another story. But to have the class 1 and the class 3, just basically the same motor, that is a bit of a breakthrough, because normally, most of it's class 1, and you're having to, as a shop, you're having to, to stock 2 different bikes. And this one, you just, adjust the software.
Yeah.
Smartly done. Yeah.
I guess I didn't realize that, but that is, it's pretty cool. So one bike is not necessarily the quiver killer, but it's much more capable, and you've got options.
Yeah. Well, and also it opens up, it opens up the ability to ride to trails that you normally would have to drive to, and that's a big part of the thing. If you have some pavement that you want to get to, crank it up to class 3. So you can, get there a little bit faster, get your pavement. And, which one thing they brought up, and which I can attest to, is, they were saying, somebody asked, I think, would you leave it at class 3 out on the dirt? But, sometimes that will have too much power, because you're trying to go up a climb. If you just have a ton of power, you're just going to spin out. So, the motor tuning, and that's a big part to kind of step back a little bit. They have all these different percentages and different ways that you can tune the motor. Really, ultimately, all of that is to give you a ride that feels like you're on a bike, that the motor's not lurchy, that it doesn't jump, and it's pressure sensitive. So when you go to pedal a little bit, it doesn't just go all the way up. The harder you push it, it ramps it up. And I know that specifically on slippery stuff, and you're going up around a tight switchback or something, and it's hard at first to get used to the motor, because you pedal and then you've got power, so it can stand you up. So the tunability of it, which interestingly enough, from my time working in motocross, was the same thing when they went to 4 strokes and the bigger displacement was a 450. Those bikes, the technology got so good that they have so much power that even early on, they would never max out the power on 450. You literally couldn't ride it. It would hit so hard. They had so much power. It was really about making tunable power. Okay. And I feel like that's a little bit where the e-bike is at now, and that, you can keep just going for more power and more torque and more power and more torque, but is that actually going to give you the best ride? And ultimately, it's about your best ride, so just like a gravel bike is good on some terrain and a mountain bike is good on others, I think that depending on the type of riding you do, the motor that you choose or how you tune the motor will be a bigger part of it come in the future.
It was. Well, if you haven't done it, you get an opportunity. If you haven't ridden an e-bike,
I'm glad you guys both got the stoke.
Yeah.
See them smiling because I've been preaching it, how much fun they are.
Well, I knew you were right. I never didn't think you were right. I don't know. Anyway, it was a great introduction. You guys spent a little time in the expo this afternoon. Anything you want to comment on? Do you want to tease our guest tomorrow, our first guest on the service course report tomorrow, or do we want to?
That's enough of a tease that we're having our first guest.
Yeah.
All right.
We're really, really stoked.
I mean, yeah, we had a little time in the expo. I think that for me, the highlight going through the expo is when we stopped off at Castelli and Christine, who's the head of marketing here in the U.S. for Castelli. They have an espresso machine, and we were looking for like a little afternoon bump ride.
A little afternoon pick me up.
Right? And so we went over and she had gloves on and an ice cream scoop, and she was making affogatos. If you haven't had an affogato, it's a scoop of vanilla ice cream with a shot of espresso over that. So good. I mean, we had some great conversations with old friends in that, but definitely one of the, if not the highlight of our little expo cruise this afternoon. What about you?
We stopped by, we saw a few different people. We stopped by, well, first of all, it was fun talking to, remind me his name from Castelli.
Paul Whitfield,
as a Brit. And so we posed the muck off question. Is it muck off or muck off? And he actually got a bit of a kick out of that.
Oh, good.
So we're going to go by muck off and ask him actually if it's muck off or muck off.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. And then we swung by Vittoria, and a friend of ours, Ken Avery, who's super nice. He's been a designer there for ages. He designed at Maxis as well, and kind of cut his teeth this one summer traveling with the Maxis team, and showed up, and he was, what did he say, 20 years old, I think.
I think that
doing it. Yeah. And so it was
traveled
really
with us.
fun, talking to him, and just some of the old history of it and how it relates to tires today. And he showed me a couple of new models, that one Peyote, which I know rolls really fast on a lot of the tests. So Ken Avery was explaining me some of the design features on that, which is pretty cool. They've been doing their homework, so that was really fun to get in there. And I always like tires, getting in there, you gotta bend the knob a little bit and feel the tread and everything. That's how I get like my last bit of intel off of it. So
did you learn anything about the E-mount bike tires today?
Not really. The models that they have, I have known about, that they've been out. I was just asking if there was any new about it. I know some of the design features, the Purgatory, I think, some of the Specialized factory guys had a downhill tire that it's amazing. The coverage is so good now that when they're getting ready to roll out of the start gate, and they either show the rider's GoPro or they show the shot looking up at the start gate, you can pause it and snap a photo, because a lot of them won't let you screenshot the content, and you can snap a photo of like the front tire, and I can zoom it and totally, you can see details on it. It's pretty amazing. And so some of the design details in those tires I'd seen running through the race team, but I was just curious to kind of hear how the guys who are riding those bikes all the time and work there, what their setup was. So there was a little bit of a mixed match.
Yeah, they each had different opinions, but I think it depended on where they lived.
And the type of riding.
And how they rode. But that was interesting.
Yeah, so that was interesting there. And then, I think that was about it on the e-bikes. But, it's my first time I'm on the Shimano platform, so using that SRAM. But I thought that all worked pretty well. The shifting was pretty nice on that. It seemed like even under power or not, it really didn't clunk around or feel like it was grinding too much. Mine did. It went in, so that was good. And gear ratios, the only time I ever ran out of gear, didn't have enough gear, was when they class 3'd us and we had one hill went up and then we were going down. I'm like, I'm just getting to the point where I'm in, spinning this.
Came up against the governor and the bike goes,
going 25.
Right.
Which is nice. But that was a really fun experience. I'm gonna get back out tomorrow. If all goes well to plan, we'll see how it goes when I actually attempt to get up early, but I'm hoping to get out early tomorrow and take my e-bike out, do a little bit of shredding before we head down to the venue.
Right.
Head back down to the venue tomorrow. Maybe go hit those trails again.
So tomorrow will be full expo day. We'll be recording mid-afternoon with our special first ever guest.
Yeah.
And thank you for joining us today. We got to get cooking and organizing and uploading.
Chopping it up.
So thank you for joining us. Episode 27 from Sea Otter Classic.
Yeah.
2-7. Shout out to my home dog, Nick Way, 2-7.